is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome in ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Want to just say thank you for rocking with ATL Day Ones as your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that in advance, because the reason why we ask that is because everybody else can find out how great we are. That's just how we get down on this show, because we talk about a lot of good stuff, and today is no different. I think we found the one advantage that the Falcons may have over the Saints. We'll talk about that. And coming up in the next segment, we will speak with Tiffany Greene, ESPN play-by-play broadcaster, color analyst, sideline reporter. She's just a woman of all type of tools. She's the 5'2" broadcaster. She's gonna join us today. And last but not least, in the For the Culture, Serena's just awesome. We'll talk about all that. But first, T, we got to talk about, Marcus Mariota. Obviously the Falcons brought him in to be the starting quarterback, QB1, in spite of, drafting the guy in the third round. Potentially could be the face of the future. In Desmond Ridder. So, but I think one thing that both you and I thought was very interesting was that Arthur Smith joined the Rich Eisen podcast, and he spoke to how the offense is going to look a little different this year, versus what it was back in 2019 when he was the offensive coordinator for the Titans and Marcus Mariota was the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And I think that it kind of all came to fruition when, the Falcons playing the Saints next week, right? And the Falcons' nemesis, Caleb McGarry's nightmare, Cam Jordan, kind of spoke to what Marcus Mariota brings to the table.
Pocket passer like, Matt was. This is going to change up their game a lot. I mean, then you got Cordero Patterson, who took off last year, so I'm sure they'll incorporate him. We've got zero film to work off of to prepare for what could be a lethal offense if you throw in Kyle Pitts, who's, in my mind, is going to be one of the top talked about wide receivers in the game.
TD. Now, Cam Jordan is about as straight a shooter as we've come to see in Falcons opponents and within the division. Did he just say lethal offense?
Indeed. That was very interesting because, yes, he is the guy who will not just read or has not just read the Falcons for filth over the years, but he has always spoken about reading them for filth over the years, particularly reading that McGarry guy, for filth. So for him to actually say that there must be something that he can see, and don't get me wrong, I still think there is going to be a challenge in the trenches. I really, really still do believe that. However, I think what Cam is referring to really is the secret weapon of a retooled wide receiver room, a retooled tight end room, and the guy under center that's going to get them the ball. Because again, one of the reasons that Cam was able to have a field day wasn't just because of poor protection from Matt Ryan, but because Matt Ryan couldn't get away from Cam once that protection broke down. It's real different now. We have seen it throughout the offseason. We saw it throughout the preseason. You're talking about both quarterbacks. So whether that's Marcus Mariota, whom we assume will be under center, or that is Desmond Ridder, there will be a quarterback who, if they can see Cam coming out of their third eye, they can actually get away and maybe make a play. And then you have a Kyle Pitts, who is arguably, just the big, strong, tight end type and a wide receiver type like a Drake London as well, who can actually make some of that secondary miss. Because I don't know if that stays secondary. It's vaunted, but I don't know if it's as vaunted as it used to be. So my thought is that those are at least part of the reasons that Cam Jordan is thinking that, coupled to the fact of an earlier point that you made. Arthur Smith talked about the fact that when he had Mariota in Tennessee, he was the OC. And maybe that offense wasn't able to open up as much because A, Marcus Mariota was not the outright QB1. And B, you're trying to navigate a Ryan Tannehill who is not like one of these things is doing his own thing when he compared to Ridder and Mariota.
Indeed.
Mariota, I believe, will give Smith also a different weapon to work with. And that is going to be something that Cam Jordan, Dennis Allen, and company have to figure out before week 1.
It's definitely it's one thing to add a nuance to a certain thing
Mm,
because, like you said, Cam Jordan's gotten used to playing against Matt Ryan, who was basically a statue, in the
yeah.
pocket. Like
Oh, yeah.
once you get there, you're there. You don't have to think about anything else. So I think that when you have a guy like a play caller like Arthur Smith, with that added nuance, and I think that it's going to be an advantage Falcons because I think that. Arthur Smith is an excellent play caller. I think he's going to put Marcus Mariota in great situations for him to be able to make easy decisions. You know
Mm-hmm.
who else is going to make help you make the easy decisions? The doggone betonline.net. Tell the folks about what they have going on for all the lucky Locked On Sports Atlanta listeners.
Indeed, it is an easy decision. If you are trying to figure something out that we all found out last night, that the queen is not done. So at the beginning of the US Open, Serena Williams was a 50-1 bet to win it all. Then she moved down to 30-1 after round 1. And now after winning in 3 sets in round 2, she is a 14-1 bet to win the US Open. But if you want to watch that trend of where she is, then Bet Online is the place for you to go because that is where you can get all your sports info and all the new developments across any sport. So again, betonline.net is where you can go for your major sports like the NFL, NBA, if you will, MLB, because listen, we got ourselves a 17-win pitcher in Kyle Wright. So if you want to see how his numbers are trending up for the Cy Young in the National League, that's your spot to go as well. And we talk about it all the time for niche sports like tennis, like golf, like MMA. It is betonline.net indeed. So stop there right after you watch ATL Day Ones. You can check them out on your laptop, on your mobile, or any connected device that you have, because that betonline.net is where the game begins.
Yes, and the Falcons have continued to make a couple of roster moves here and there. They have cut Mike Ford and Dean Marlowe because hey, they had to make a couple of claims on some guys up front. One of them we talked about, Mr. Chume from the New York Jets, and they also picked up a defensive lineman from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
And I think that what we talked about, our concerns as far as solidifying it up front. I think that's what the Falcons did when they made these moves.
Yeah, and this is one of those that harkens back to the draft, right? When
Right.
everybody thought to themselves, first round, Drake London, it's like, oh, dear God, not again. But then you start seeing them making moves, right? You start
Right.
seeing an Arnold Ebiketie, and you see a Troy Anderson, and you start getting excited. You see a Tyler Algier, because that then told you, hey, once we got the best guy, if you will, at the position we had in the draft, now we're going to go after our needs.
Right.
This, to me, getting the guy from the Chiefs, getting Dickerson from the Chiefs, getting Adoga from the Jets, that speaks to that. And going back to something you said yesterday as well, when you see somebody and have the opportunity of joint practices and even a preseason game, and you see something that could work in your system, maybe Adoga did not quite work in the Jet system, but could very well do some things, some good things. And always we see and we know, whether it is defensive tackle or offensive tackle translation in the trenches, it seems like you always need that depth as the season wears on. So I do like that they went on the waiver wire and said, hey, those are some guys that we think can pick up and somehow can make contributions.
Yes, that's all. At this point, that's all you're looking for because you want to see. Maybe you can put a claim in, put these guys on your 53 to see if they're going to be a fit for your squad. And I think that Dickerson is that guy because he's more of a 3-4 type defensive end from a body style standpoint. And then Adoga is a guy who was a 3rd-round pick and he's a guy that who has some talent there. So they want to see if he can figure out a way to keep him because, hey, they did not pick up the 5th option on Caleb McGarry, so he won't be here next year. So, yeah, let that sink in for a second. All right, now, the Braves, they get a win last night. Kyle Wright, like you mentioned, 17-game winner. He's leading the entire major leagues in wins, and I think that he's starting to climb up the ranks as far as from a Cy Young in the National League, and he's in front of Justin Verlander, who everybody knows exactly who he is, and I think that Kyle Wright is starting to make a name for himself around around the league water cooler talk as well. They get the win 3-2 last night. He goes 7 innings. Then you have AJ Minter come in, and then you have Kenley Jansen come in and do what Kenley Jansen's been doing as of late. T, like, what is going on here? I get it, but golly, man, do you have to scare us every time?
Usually you and I will go down the road of good, bad, and ugly, right?
Right.
So today we have a surprise for you guys. We don't even have a bad. In my opinion, we have 2 goods and an ugly. Let's just be real. That's the way I see it.
Basically.
So the good is Kyle Wright and Ronald Acuna Jr. Kyle Wright, 2 back-to-back 7 scoreless innings. You want to know how serious that is? The Braves have not seen that in 12 years. 12 years. So that tells you how powerful it is for him to be able to go that deep in a game, which is something that Brian Sticker always is looking for, and then to be able to pull it off scoreless. And then you're talking about just a handful of hits within those scoreless innings, right? So yeah, just incredible to see what Kyle Wright has been able to do. And like we always talk about, all he needed was a little bit of run support. Austin Riley gave it to him to start off, and Ronald Acuna Jr. gave him the insurance that ended up essentially being the game winner. So good to see Ronald Acuna Jr. back. I think the strategy is working. We cringed at it for having him out 3 games, but if this is what it's going to take for us to see him be who he needs to be in the postseason or deep down the stretch for the Braves, then I'm all for it. And yeah,
No
Kelly, we're just going to put you on the altar of prayer.
Yes.
Needs better out of you.
Because Lord knows Will Smith was on that same altar last year and ended up working out for us. So, hey, God does answer prayers. I don't care about nobody say he don't pay attention to sports. Yes, he does. He's all knowing and all seeing. So, yeah.
Braves country is God's country, right? Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. But coming up next, though, we're going to have a very special guest, HBCU extraordinaire, Tiffany Greene, ESPN sideline reporter / analyst / play-by-play person. She is the 5'2" broadcaster. She will be joining us next right here on ATL Day Ones. Don't go.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra, and that is Jarvis. And we appreciate you guys for always rocking with us. Why do we know you rock with us? Because you guys give us 5-star reviews each and every place that you download your podcast. So we appreciate you for that. But we also thank you for continuing to subscribe to our YouTube channel for Locked On Sports Atlanta. We're almost up to 4,000 subscribers, and we appreciate you doing that. And we know why you do it. You do it because we bring you great content, but we bring you even greater guests to talk about that content. And today is no different. We have the amazing ESPN play-by-play commentator and sideline reporter for all things HBCU sports. Yes, I love it. She does it all. She is amazing. And also for the WNBA. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But please welcome in Tiffany Greene. Tiffany, how you doing today?
What's good? We trying to bring that big energy to start off season. Let's go, baby.
Yes, and oh my goodness, you want to talk big energy? Can't be anything bigger than what's happening this weekend with the Orange Blossom Classic. It is so amazing. And we know that, technically week 0, MEAC SWAC Challenge last weekend, football has already kicked off, but everybody had this date circled on their calendar because it is Jackson State, it is FAMU. We want to take a step back and ask you, Tiffany, especially being up in that booth, what do you expect to see from both of these teams when you call this game this weekend?
Well, my partner Jay Walker and I have dubbed this year because we saw how important it was a season ago. 1 point separating the obviously Jackson State going on to win the SWAC East and the SWAC Championship and representing conference in the Celebration Bowl. But this is a team that comes back and with more depth. How about the number 1 recruit in the nation tracting to make his debut with the Tigers? They also had a terrific defense, so he beefed, which was already strong. And then you look at a FAMU team that made it all the way to the FCS playoffs. Their offense, they have some big backs in the backfield. The transfer quarterback from Vanderbilt had a very strong showing in week 0 against UNC, gets to do it lights and in a different type of atmosphere. It's got a post-season feel, folks. You can't get any better than that. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. I said all of that, and Shiloh Sanders and Isaiah Land. They were both FCS National Players of the Year and for Freshman of the Year. So you've got plenty of star power.
Yeah, when you think about the star power, right? Let's talk about Deion Sanders. He's being the head coach, and he's going to get a lot of the attention coming into this game in the Orange Blossom Cactus down in Miami. But Tiffany, I have to get you to talk about Willie Simmons. I think this guy is a gem of a head coach, and I think he's making some moves down in FAM to bring them back to some respectability.
I mean, the Willie Simmons era or Willennium, as my partner has a difference in having this resurgence you've seen in Tallahassee for the last few years of trying to get to that Celebration Bowl. They're looking to finish. Simmons isn't just a great coach within the HBCU ranks. He's one of the best in all down some assistant jobs at the FBS level to actually stay at FAMU to, again, revitalize that program. And we cannot overlook the fact, right? Deion Sanders was prime time on the field, and now he's brought that energy, that flashiness, that flair to HBCUs, and making sure that so much attention to the great product that we see on the field week in and week out, and that we've known about. He's been able to put a megaphone to some of our concerns and some of the grit, an extra lens, if you will, into the HBCU culture. And so on both sides, they have a mutual respect for one another, and they are a part of that blue state in FAMU that's going to help propel HBCU football forward.
Indeed. And I'm so excited to talk about it as well, because I feel like the SWAC is so rich in talent just across the space. So I want to talk to you about that and kind of any sleepers that you see. But before we talk about that, we talk about the fact that you said earlier, big energy. Let me tell you something. When it comes to talking about Coffee AM, Jarvis Davis has all the energy. So he's going to keep that same energy and tell you guys about it right now.
Mr. Coffee AM is what they call me. I haven't told Coffee AM that yet, but hey, that's my name, because I've been rocking with coffeeam.com/locked on. That's the website you need to go to. Now I'm about to tell you why you need to go to that website, because this is the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country, and it's right here in your backyard, right here in Atlanta. So yeah, let's go. Atlanta area, that is. But yeah, you definitely need to check them out, because I start my mornings off with those Kenya K-Cups, and I've run out of them. Coffee AM, I need y'all to send me some more, because some things be on point. So I absolutely love coffeeam.com /locked on. It is the place to go. And once you go there and check them out, here's what you do. Go to the coffeeam.com /locked on. Drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off of all coffees, teas, and gift sets. And you haven't heard me talk about the tea, because, tea, she loves the tea. And, it has so many benefits to her. She's told me about them. She's used them, and it has helped her in her life, and it's helped her soul as well. And, I ain't going to get into how it helped her soul, but, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, yes, go to coffeeam.com /locked on. Drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off. Go ahead and pull up on the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country.
Yeah, you know it, because I love the tea. That's what helps my voice to just stick around for now. What are we talking about? I'm on hour number 12 of talking. So yeah, it definitely helps me out.
Tenitra and Jarvis, y'all need to get a little
gift bag.
Yeah, in the morning.
Got you. Got some coffee for you.
That needs to be the bed music when you read that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, let's do it.
It will not disappoint. It will not disappoint. And listen, we were talking about this earlier, right? And sometimes you have situations where, and whether it's professional or college sports, where one side of the division will be heavy. We talk about it with the SEC, right? It's the West being deep, and then the East and not so much. Might be the same here in the SWAC as well. So I wanted to ask two questions of you. Number one, do you feel like there's one division in the SWAC, be it East or West, that is a little bit stronger and may be the ones that have the strongest path, if you will, to the Celebration Bowl? And number two, I want to ask you, who's your sleeper that might sneak up and shock us and be the representative for the SWAC in the bowl?
Well, I'll say this. I think the East is pretty deep this year. That's Jackson State. That's Alabama State. We saw them in week 1 and come out with a week 0. You know, the MEAC SWAC Challenge has not been in favor of the SWAC. Alabama State junior got his coaching debut. So I think it's going to be very realignment, you know, a season ago when FAMU and Bethune-Cookman joined the conference. That sent the Kings of the East at the time, Alcorn State, now over to have to contend with Southern and the Gramblings and the Prairie View A&Ms. So Alabama A&M over in the East as well. So there are a number of teams, but I slant the advantage slightly to the East. However, Hugh Jackson at Grambling, that Eric Dooley over at Southern, he might have something to say about that. Newcomer Bubba McDowell in on that. But in terms of a team that I feel like are a sleeper, you know, consistently been there. They were the spring champions when we had that COVID year. You know, Jackson State. But I like a team like Mississippi Valley State. And I know people are going to say dark horse, but if you look at the way they played towards the end of the season, they had some really. Vincent Dancy is doing a terrific job down in Itabena, especially given what he has. He has been able to really get that team to focus about the Delta Devils is their fight. They do not give up. That is probably the hardest road trip in all of HBCU football. Many could argue. They, I think, really bring it. So they return the leading rusher from a season ago, making to just upset some folks. I don't know that they'll make it all the way to Atlanta. I think that they will make it the path very difficult for whoever ends up in.
Well, you know, Tiffany, unfortunately, I have got to get on the WNBA before we get out of here. Now, unfortunately, the Dream did not make the playoffs. And, you know, because we've been rocking with our Dream this year, and Ryan Howard, obviously the WNBA Rookie of the Year. But now that the playoffs are going on, who do you like to be able to raise the trophy at the end of the season?
Beginning that I thought the Las Vegas Aces found themselves in the ripest position to take Wilson, who was Defensive Player of the Year and my vote for MVP this year, kept a focus. And there are more than a million reasons to love Becky Hammond. You know, first female. Now she goes back to the franchise which she played for back in San Antonio, and she last paced, high flying, you know, offense, high octane, just fun. I feel like the Las Vegas Aces find themselves in a position to take it all. The entire series, which we saw the Storm take game 1, incredibly competitive. Candace Parker and the legacy that she's left in the WNBA. She's trying to win back-to-back chips. Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Sun, can't count them out. I think we'll see Aces and Sun in the championship. No, actually, I'm sorry. Correction. We're going to see the Sky Aces in the championship, and I think Las Vegas walks away with Tanisha Wright. She was my vote for Coach of the Year because I thought she did a terrific Atlanta Dream this season.
Indeed. And the one thing I will say and co-sign on that for you as well, not just our coach, but also our GM for the Dream have Aces ties. So maybe, just maybe, that'll give us a little connectivity in rooting for Las Vegas for that WNBA chip. Tiffany, we cannot thank you enough. We so hope that you're able to come back during the season and talk a little bit more football with us, or really anything that you want to talk about. Because just like with this segment, we got For the Culture, and a lot of times we talk about anything we want to in that segment. So we're going from one queen in our deep dive here today to another queen. And if you want to hear about that queen, come back on the other side for the culture. But in the meantime, check out Tiffany at Tiffany A. Green on Twitter, at TGreen34 on IG. She is an amazing follow. We appreciate her time today, and you all better check her out this weekend because, man, oh man, as my uncle would tell you, she's his favorite, and she's ours too. All right, Rattler family, take care. We'll see you.
Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to say thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. We hope you enjoyed that Tiffany Greene interview. Man, she brought the energy today, and we're definitely going to continue with that because, T, guess what? This is For the Culture, and, you know, it is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And today is no different because we have to talk about Serena Williams, the Queen. She blessed us last night with another win in the second round against the number 2 player in the world. Actually, she beats her in 3 sets. You know, 7-6, 6-2, and 6-2 in the final set there. T, one of the things that I just really just enjoyed about last night was just watching her be her. And you know, it's been quite. You know, Serena has dealt with that, you know, those issues of being who she is, you know, in front of the media because they're not used to dealing with somebody that looks and plays like her. And I think that she is the one that has paved the way for those people to feel comfortable in those particular situations. And I think that it was just a beautiful thing to see, to be able to for her to be herself and also just have a little flashback of who she used to be as a player in 2022, and I think it was just absolutely amazing to watch last night.
It certainly was. And a tip of the cap to the other queen, Venus Williams, as well, because so many things that Venus did behind the scenes in terms of equitable pay and bringing out those issues of racism and to some degree sexism because of the way they were compared to even male players back in the day. So yeah, just a beautiful thing for those queens to stand up, but particularly for Serena to stand up and just show out one more time. It was like they say playing with house money, but I felt like, hey, we got a bonus. Like, first of all, when she announced that she was going to play the US Open, of course we knew she would because that's kind of her turf, if you will, but the opening round and then to know that we got her again and oh my God, we get another round. Like, what is this? We get to see this queen over and over and over again. But I love how you said it perfectly. She is so comfortable in her own skin and she has paved the way for others to be comfortable in their skin, the likes of a Coco Gauff or Naomi Osaka to be comfortable in their skin as well. And for her, it was so funny because one of the questions that was asked was, Serena, did you surprise yourself? And in true Black girl magic, she was like, what?
My God.
She said, what?
What'd you say? Excuse me?
She's like, what? I said, yes, queen, because that is so the real answer that all of us have in us. And
like, I gotta add to that, right? So, you know, right after that, like right before she said, I'm just Serena, like she did the eye roll, like the eye roll that kind of went into the just Serena. She was just like, I'm just Serena. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I can't do it the exact way how it's supposed to be done. I'm supposed to be able to do it exactly how it was done.
But I won't.
Right. Yeah. At some point during the segment, you got to do it, T, to kind of let the folks see what I'm actually talking about. But yeah, it was just quintessential Serena. Like, and it was just, and then like in that third match though, like the one thing that just really stood out to me, it was just one point in that match where you just saw the look on that young lady's face and you just knew like, yeah, more than likely I'm about to lose this match because Serena was absolutely just dominating from you know, the aces, you know, on a serve. And when she got the serve, it was just like, oh yeah, she's actually going to definitely point for sure on this particular, you know, time of the game, the entire match that is. But it was just really so, it was so masterful, like, because, you know, we're not used to seeing Serena play like this. Like, she's only played in 6 matches the entire year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, she's what used to frequent pretty much every tournament, but with her being a mother and all, and getting older and not being the player she once was, it's like to see her go back to that, it just kind of speaks to like her greatness overall. Like she's like in the all-time great, like she's already there, but like I think she elevated her GOATness last night.
Agree. And this is one of those situations where, and hear me when I say it, yes, I absolutely want to see her win. We talked about the fact that her odds have gone from 50 to 1 to 14 to 1. But in case she doesn't, and in case Friday is the last that we see of her, please don't forget the magic that you saw in the first and second round that harkened back to 22 of the 25 years that we have had her grace the courts all across this world and be the greatness that she is. And that is why when she was asked that question about if she was surprised about what she did, she was like,
yes, that's it. Yes, that's absolutely it. That's what I'm talking about right there. Oh my God. Nobody knew what to do either. I knew exactly what to do. I was just like, hey man, talk your talk. You know what I'm saying, young lady?
I'm like, you know what? She said what she said because she did what she did. Period.
Speaking of HBCUs, like we talked about earlier with Tiffany Greene and greatness, I think you can be able to go to your local Target store at some point in the near future. Miss Brooke Hart Jones has come out with some HBCU dolls, and looking up and down looking at the pictures of these dolls, I might have to go ahead and go ahead and make a little purchase for my babies because as we know, we gotta support the people.
Right, and I got to put my glasses back on to see the beautiful dolls that she created. Man, oh man, and I think I'm going to grab one for my goddaughter as well. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing what she's been able to do just in terms of, and we like it HBCU as in YOU. So that really engenders a support there that says, why not you? A support there that says, hey, whatever hue you are, because the dolls have different hues, different shades of brown, if you will. It just really is so inclusive. And this is really on brand for Target. This is who they've been long before it was a trendy thing, by the way. They've been supporting Black businesses for decades now, and I can appreciate this, and I can't wait to see this. But also I'm excited because, like I always say, sometimes there's cultural appropriation, and not to say that someone who went to a PWI or who is non-Black cannot make something that honors our culture, but for it to be by an African-American female who is also an African-American female who attended an HBCU and one of our oldest HBCUs in the country, to me, that's what also makes it so magical. And it's just this perfect time for that to come out as we're going into the fall season. We know how big homecoming is for HBCU.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things where you couldn't have asked for a better time for her to debut this. Thanks again to Target for lifting her up and supporting her, but also thanks to Brooke for just imagining this. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, and we'll definitely send you guys a link. And hey, we want to hear your thoughts about it as well. Want to hear your thoughts on our amazing guest, the ESPN play-by-play color commentator from time to time, but she's really that play-by-play genius. And of course, sideline reporter Tiffany Greene. We appreciate her stopping by to talk all things HBCU football, as there is a big Orange Blossom Classic happening in Florida this weekend to truly kick off the football season. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about all things football tomorrow on the show, as well as hopefully talking about a Braves series win against the Rockies. So we appreciate you guys as always.
Georgia, Oregon tomorrow too. Yep,
yes,
we got to preview
Georgia,
that.
Oregon on the horizon. So we got big things popping, and we are going to talk about that as well on the show tomorrow. But listen, after you watch us today, always remember to stop by A to Z with Mark Zeno. Thanks again for watching. We will see you tomorrow.
Y'all come back now, you hear?